everybody. Happy Tuesday. We're back. I have to apologize about last weekend. We were testing the Smurf, and at 7 o'clock I thought I hit live, and I didn't. I hit a short, and so while I'm sitting there talking, it timed out and it was done. So I apologize about that. I'm still going to work on that some more. I know Chris had gotten a hold of me, asked me if we were going to do the show, and he's like, oh, it'd be really cool to get some video of inside the pits while you're working and stuff. But of course, I'm working, so I don't know, maybe someday I might have to try to do a GoPro chest cam or something like that, or head cam, and see if I can patch it into my phone and go live like that. So it'll be something to work on in the future. But I apologize about that. I had all intentions of doing that. So I see we got Rick on the channel, Wrench Sense, Bill and Dawn, Team Junk. Happy to have you all on the show tonight. Rick was actually down here in Florida earlier last week, and he was able to get home, and he still has snow in Pennsylvania. Sorry to hear that. Hey, Ryan's on. Hey, Ryan, how you doing? Dave's on. Hey, Dave. Been a minute. Dave usually comes by on Saturdays, but he's been working his tail off at work. So see how everything goes now. But yeah, so anyway, so we went and tested a Smurf. That went well. We did a 2-day test up in Orlando. I don't know if you guys I'm pretty sure everybody had seen some of the videos. But had to kind of break away from our normal gig. So let me see if I can get this thing going here. Go ahead and, for the people that may not have seen it, I don't know how the volume's going to be. I didn't test this, but so anyway, so here's I think this was the run that we were at 7 o'clock. We should have been going live, but all I did was get the video of the car, and then it timed out. Oh, see you Saturday. All right, cool, Dave. So anyway, so here's the one of our test runs. So that was a good little lick there. See if I can pull this back. Maybe it might not work. You see the candles were lit. That's always a good sign when you're on nitrous and you got the flames out the header pipes. You know you're getting it done. So anyhow, so that was our little run there. Like I said, I was trying to go live, but it didn't work out as I had planned. But anyway, let's let me get rid of that. So yeah, so that car, I see Ryan says the Smurf looks nasty. Yeah, it does. So just a little recap on the Smurf. It's a 4.4 bore center, small block Chevy. So it's stock bore center. It's not an oversized block or anything like that. We are running nitrous, and it is a grudge car that runs in a class where it's nitrous only. So that car is pretty much what everybody has created the name A-League. So it's the top of the food chain in small block nitrous grudge racing. However, the Smurf has got a smaller engine than a lot of the other competitors in that deal. So there's 4.5 bore center, 4.6 bore center. The 4.6 bore center motors with big strokes, I've heard of those motors getting up into low 600 cubic inch range. We are nowhere near that. Being the smaller bore center, there's less room, so you can't overbore the block as much. So it hinders the size of the engine. So typically, you'd go to an event and it would be grudge racing only. So what my role on the Smurf is basically car chief. I'm the one that does all the work on the car, put the motor in, put the motor out, wiring, fuel system adjustments, chassis adjustments, and stuff like that. Now, we do have a crew chief that actually makes the calls, but I'm the one that actually hands-on puts it on. A lot of times I drive the truck and trailer to the events and stuff like that, and do all the in-between race maintenance. So as I was saying, we normally go to a race and it's just straight up grudge. You get somebody to race, and then you try to bet some money and race. Well, what's happened over the years is these cars have been nicknamed A-League because most of the competitors don't have anything for it, so they won't race you. So a lot of times you'd go to an event and there's nobody to race unless there's another A-League type car there. So that the last couple of years they started doing shootouts where they would everybody would enter, throw money in the pot, and the winner would take all. And of course, there's betting between rounds and stuff like that. But you still didn't get many cars showing up. Most of the shootouts were maybe 4 to 6 cars, and the small block deal is kind of slowly whittled away because of just the performance, and obviously everybody's gambling, so they try to stack the deck in their favor. So the guys with the maybe a little slower car wouldn't even want to attempt because they don't think they have anything for it. I probably could say how much money's in the car, but I really don't know. But I can say there's it's definitely it's over 6 figures, not quite 3/4 of 6 figures. I guess that's about the best I can put it. So luckily this year, a promoter has put together an A-League shootout, and how much money is a bet? Oh, sorry. Yeah. So typically the pots are usually between 5 and 10 grand, and then like at the shootouts, we won a shootout in Atlanta, Alabama, Alabama International Raceway. We won one in the end of 2024, and that was a $50,000 winner takes all. And there was a couple rounds that we did some betting in between too. Of course, now I myself am not a gambler, so I don't usually bet very much, maybe $500. I'm a little bit of a chicken when it comes to that. But the people that are in control, that's what they do. That's what they like to do. People bet on horses, bet on dogs, bet on all kinds of stuff, football, all that stuff. So it's just another form of hobby out there for it. So anyway, to get back to the A-League shootout, this year they came out with a shootout, and they actually came up with some rules. Typically, these cars, the rules are used to be stock front suspension. It used to be stock suspension, then stock modified suspension, then stock front suspension. And then they went into, still wanted steel roof and quarters. But that's all kind of gone away because whenever a promoter would promote a big grudge race, they typically would bend the rules to fit their buddies' cars. So now pretty much the only rules are the bore center of the engine. So this small block A-League shootout, it's a 5-race series with points, and then obviously there's going to be a points fund at the end of the season. And with that, they just came up with different rules, like with the 4.4 bore center engine, obviously nitrous, any intake, throttle body, carburetor, that's all open. And we're allowed 3 forward gears with a lockup converter. And then the 4.5 bore center engines, if they're billet, then they are not allowed to run lockup. If they are cast aluminum block and heads, then they can run a lockup. And then the 4.6 guys, they got to run 3 speeds only, no lockup converters at all. So that's basically kind of a leveling point, and obviously the 275 radial is a great leveling point because you don't have much tire on the back of the car. So, but it's very interesting to see if you look at SB A-League Nitrous Shootout on Facebook. I counted 18 cars that are registered, so they've, according to the group page, I guess they've paid their money. There's a entry fee money to put in the kitty for the shootout points fund. So I don't know anything about that stuff as far as that goes, but it looks like there's 18 cars that they say are in. So it should be a pretty good deal, and hopefully at least we can get 12 to 16 cars at every event. That'll be great to have that kind of racing. It's going to be great for the fans. People love the small blocks. And we'll see how it all goes. So that was our testing for last week. The first race is in Steele, Alabama, and that is going to be Bobby Cole's race, and that is April 25th or 27th, something like that. So that's all we really got for right now. So I apologize for not getting on live last week. I messed up. One of these days I'll have to get some assistance at the track where I can, I'm thrashing on the car, trying to, take care of all that stuff, and then also try to do filming and everything all at the same time. So, the only leveling point is the tires. Lots of room for interpretation of rules. Yes, there is. Yes, there is. And that's why pretty much most of the rules have all gone by now, because a lot of the newer cars are C7 Corvettes. So obviously they're not steel roof and quarter cars because they come from the factory fiberglass. So most of those cars are all built on carbon fiber bodies, even though that's not how they come from the factory. But as long as the silhouette of the car looks stock, and they call it no pro mod bodies, where the bodies have been altered, windows laid back and stuff like that, you're good to go. Another popular car in there is the Fox body Mustangs, because you can get those guys really light. We're the ones with kind of the oddball, having the big brick Monte Carlo SS. But the car owner has 2 of them. He's got the reason this one's called Papa Smurf Jr. because it's got the small block in it. He also has a big block car that's been resting in the wings to come back out, but that one's Papa Smurf Senior, and that has a 484 motor in it. So that's a big block with a 4.84 bore center engine in it. So that's a whole nother category. So anyway, so that's where we're at with that. And I appreciate a bunch of people who checked in with me to see what was going on, because no no notifications or anything. I wasn't able to set up a live like I am here on the studio, on the YouTube studio, which then sends out a notification. I was going to do that on a live on my phone, so it would have sent a notification out once it started taping, but it didn't work out. So John Wally's in. Hey man, how you doing? Chuck's in. Hey Chuck, how you doing? Wrenchson says less Mustangs the better. Yeah, you're right. There's a bunch of them, and there's also a couple S10s. There's actually, they're showing on that Facebook page. There's a Nova coming out, an older Chevy 2, and a Camaro, and a C4 Corvette. So that'll be interesting. I haven't seen, a couple of those are brand new cars, and some of them race in different areas of the country. So it'll be interesting to see all these guys out. There's a bunch of them that Stepchild and Themo, Disrespectful, which is a Camaro. Well, I can't think of the other one. But anyway, there's a bunch of Mustangs that we've raced in the past. Jackie Chan from up in the Virginia area. We've raced him before. So we'll see how it all goes. But like I said, first race will be in April, later end of April. So we'll see how that goes. Ron's on. Hey, Ron, how you doing? Appreciate that, John. Yeah, hopefully it does go good. So tonight we're going to go ahead and get back into the wiring deal here. So let me bring up some. I didn't get a chance to. I've almost got the Buick T-Type running, so I didn't get a chance to look through the section, the slides I have here. But we're going to go ahead and let me get this thing keeps. Still don't have my Adobe working, so all right. So last week we were talking about, 2 weeks ago rather, we were talking about relays and diodes and resistors, solenoids, a lot of the components that you need when you have to wire up a car. Dave says, "Where's the Smurf at?" It's on the side of the shop in the trailer. Yep, I know we were talking about having to go back to Orlando, but there's some maintenance work that needs to be done to it, so it's here till I get that done. Yeah, thanks, Dave. I'll have to see if Mark can help me with the Adobe. I don't know why. I can load it, but it keeps wanting me to pay for it, and Adobe Reader should be free. I don't need the working editions of it. But anyway, so the next thing we have to do is we have to get connectors, because we're going to connect our wiring to different components. So you have to use connectors to connect wires together, connect to connectors to plug into things. So one of the common ones on your older cars is WeatherPack Series 56. And there's also 59, which is the larger diameter ones for like headlights and stuff like that. But these are the common on the 50s and 60s cars, 70s cars, actually even in some 80s before they went into the later model WeatherPack. But you can get all this stuff individually. If you buy a rewiring kit like a painless, it'll come with a lot of this. Good connections. They're not waterproof at all, though, so they're good for inside the car. I don't know so much about under the hood, but I mean they did use them back in the day for that. And then you got your early WeatherPack stuff for your early fuel injection and computer-controlled carburetors on your GM product cars, starting with the early 80s. Here's a close-up of the Weather Series 56. They take a specific crimper to crimp these. And this is going more into your WeatherPack stuff. MetroPack, I should say, which is more in the 2000s up to current. A little bit smaller connectors, smaller bodies, trying to get, make more room in your engine bay and in the harnesses, making everything smaller. Let me see here. I thought I had. Well, here's a couple different versions. This is newer stuff. This is your MetroPack 480. And what on the MetroPack stuff, you've got 480, 280, and 150. And all that has to do with current, how much current, continuous current the connectors can have. So the 480 series is good for 42 amps continuous. So a lot of your high-end SPA fans, alternators, stuff like that's going to have these larger 480 connectors. And they have them, this is with the water sealed, so it's good for a wet environment. And then they also have them in a non-sealed environment. So the same connector, but with no seals or anything. And, anything that you're in a high amperage, you'd want to go to the 480. This is some of the other connectors that you'll see more on European cars and a lot of racing components. Most of your high-end MSD stuff and a lot of your aftermarket ECUs like Haltech or Motec and stuff will use the Deutsch connections. And you can see here that they've got 3 series DTM. It's a smaller size, and it's low amp, 7.5. Then you got the DT series, which is the most common one. They're good for 13 amp. And then the DTP, which is 25 amp. And that is a continuous amperage, not spike. And it also has a lot to do with the diameter of the wires that are available. And they come in cavity connectors between 2 and 12 on the DTM and the DT. The DTP, being a high amperage, is only a 2 and 4 cavity connector. And then that's our other thing. Okay, so that's a lot of the connectors you won't have to use. Let's see here. That's the same slide. Like I said, I didn't get through these too much. So for somebody like me that's doing a lot of wiring, we have to keep a lot of stuff in stock because the kits don't always come with all the connectors you need. So this is just a selection of what I normally keep in the shop. And some of these are really handy. You can get this stuff from a bunch of places. I use Terminal Supply. I use Custom Connectors, Waytech, and there's a few others also that you can order this stuff from. But this is my mainly butt connector kit, and you'll see that these connectors over here all have color stripes on them. So this connector is a blue and a yellow. So that's for a 10-12 gauge on this side and a 14 gauge on the other side. Or if you wanted to put 2 14s to 1 14, like in a Y connector, you would use these stepped connectors. That way the connectors are tight to your wiring when you crimp it. And the same here with blue and red. So you got your blue, which is basically 16-14 gauge, and your red, which is 18-20 gauge. And this is a blue-red, another style connector. Then I've got just straight through. This would be what you'd consider a red butt connector, 16, 18. And this would be your blues, which would be around 14. And this is a heavy-duty 10. And I also have these little ones here, which are red and white. So that's 18, 20 on one side, 22 to 24 on the opposite side. I usually keep a bunch of these spade connectors with a jumper built in, so if you have to piggyback stuff. And this is small diameter female spade connectors for like speakers. And then I got a couple different size eyelets. And then my next kit, this has got more eyelets, some slide-on loops where they don't actually go through. We got our male spades in all three sizes, and then female single spades. And then these are specific spade connectors that go into like a plastic holder for a relay kit. I like to, when I wire up, I like to not use the little pigtails and then butt splice it. I'll pull the pigtail out and make my wire go directly into the connector so there's less splices. And then over here, these are splice connectors. So in a regular butt connector, you have wires going in from either side, and they crimp together. But they don't actually crisscross each other. They go up to a stop in the butt connector. These splice connectors are half the size, and the wires actually go over top of each other, crisscrossing, and then you get a crimp there, and that makes it a way smaller, much nicer connection when you're making wiring harness, like you're doing splices for like an injector harness. You're going to have a red power wire, and you're going to branch it off 3 times to go to 4 injectors. So I would use these splices instead of the butt connectors because it keeps the harness small and tidy. So Wrench Sense says, do I use a hydraulic crimper on heavy wire? Yes, I do. We'll go over that in a little bit. I have one from Harbor Freight, and I've modified a couple of the crimps to crimp better the way I wanted to get for like battery cables and stuff like that. Hey Cole, how you doing? So that's another tray of connectors I have. These are mainly, I use all non-insulated connectors. So you go to the parts store and you get the connectors that have the red and the blue and the yellow plastic ends on. I don't use those. One, because I don't feel you can get a good crimp because you're crimping through the plastic. The plastic usually splits. So what good is it anyway? And then I heat shrink over everything anyway with heat shrink with glue. So it makes the connection very watertight and just makes it nice and clean. And there's an assortment of my heat shrink, which I have a lot more. This is an older slide, but this is 3/16, quarter, 3/8, half, 5/8, and 3/4, and I have it all the way up to 2.5 inches. Now here's my Series 56 connection kit. So you got your singles, doubles with one laying over, triples 4 ways, 5 ways, and then all the different assorted sizes. And that's important because all of these fittings, when you crimp these, they have to be the right size to fit in the crimp so that when you crimp it, it's going to hold properly and not, you don't want to pull your wire. You shouldn't pull the wiring anyway, but if you pull on the wiring, you don't want it to pull out of the connector. It'd just be a poor connection. So that's why I have multiple sizes, because in this kit, this is 2018, 16, 14, 12, 10. And then the same thing with the female side. So I can just use whatever size I need. Now, obviously, if you're going to do 2 14s together, you wouldn't use a 14 connector. You can step it up to the 10, 12, and then twist the stripped wire together and then crimp it, because it's now at the same diameter as a 12 gauge, and then you get a good crimp. And this is our 58 or 59 series, which is your headlight connectors. And then these are 680 Metropack for making fuse holders. And that's old school weather pack. Some of these weren't very full when I took the picture. But I normally keep singles, doubles, triples, 4-way square, and then 6-way in the early connectors. And I would normally have now these connectors are only good for about 15 amps, so I have one connector male, female for 16, 18, and then, well, actually 20 to 18, and then 16 to 14. You can do 12 on these, but they're not rated for 12 gauge wire, so you have to think about that when you're using them. And then I also keep these Molenex connectors for making crank trigger harnesses and other harnesses like that use the Molex connections. A lot of your weather pack, race pack, and other type sensors for data logging, travel limit sensors, and dry shaft speed sensors and stuff like that will use the Molenex 3-position connector. So I keep those too. This is the 280 connector. So a little bit larger connectors here. This is good for in the 25, 30 amp range. And you see there's some more odd Molenex connectors there. Now here's MetroPack. I have a couple of these. Actually, this is 280 also. I had 2 sleeves of 280. So these are all 280 connectors, which you can use the 2 connector port for either male, female, or it becomes a ATO fuse holder. That works out real nice. But these are good connectors like fuel pumps and stuff like that. Lower amperage draw cooling fans and stuff like that. This is my collection of DT Deutsch connections. And again, in multiple numbers, 2 male and female, 3 male and female, 4 male, female, 6, 8, and then 12. And I also keep these in flanged connectors also. Nice thing about the Deutsch, when you use all the right, they have those connectors come in 2 different ways, either a solid tube or a crimp. The solid tube uses a special crimper that grabs it and pinches it, and it crimps it in 4 different positions and makes it very, very strong connection. German, they always have things engineered very well. Here's my flanged Deutsch connectors. So those are some of the connectors that I keep in stock. Obviously, depending on the amount of wiring you're going to do, you really don't need to keep that much in stock. But I'm getting into all kinds of different things, and you want to make sure you have what you need on hand to make the proper connections and stuff. So once you identify the connectors you need, and then you can work on getting the right tooling to do the crimping. There's a bunch of different kits that are available that do multiple stuff, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. But I wanted to show just on crimps and how they're supposed to be and stuff like that. So let's see. Open this up here. So when you're crimping stuff, you have to think about making sure the crimp is correct so that your wiring is a good job. A lot of people are scared of wiring and they get concerned about it, and proper crimping is half of everybody's issue. I want to say, not issue, but why people can be scared of it, because they think they don't do the due diligence to get the right crimping tool, and then so they make crimps and they get it all done, and now it doesn't work, and they're like, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? And that's when you become when the fear of wiring comes in, because now you have to go back and trace it, and you don't know, it just becomes troublesome. So getting the right tools is very important. Dave says he's terrified. But if you break it down and do a little research and spend a little bit of money on the right tools, it becomes very easy, because when you make build a harness and all the crimps are good because you've used the proper tool and you've tested the crimp before you installed it, 90% of your troubles are going to be not there because everything is going to be connected properly. Connector crimping and connector component connectivity is where most of the wiring issues are. I mean, most of the companies will give you wiring schematics. They'll tell you the red goes to battery, the pink goes to key on, the black goes to ground, or whatever they're doing. So, I mean, that's pretty cut and dry. We all know what power and key on power and chassis ground and stuff like that is. So that's not where the issue lies. It's more about making the proper termination so that the connector crimps are good, and that becomes non-problem. Team Junk says, what about labeling? Yes, labels are another one. It's important. I have a Dynamo 4200 label maker, and I have heat shrink that I can print labels on. So when I'm doing a harness like on the Smurf, that one I printed out heat shrink labels for all the harnesses for the connectors. That way when the motor comes out, goes back in, if I got somebody helping me at the track or whatever, we can look at the harnesses, and there's detailed instructions, as not really detailed instructions, but you'll get a connector and it'll say CTS, coolant temp sensor, so you know what that goes to. Or if not, you can ask and say, what's CTS? And you say coolant. Oh, okay. Oil pressure, fuel pressure, TPS for throttle position sensor, MAP for manifold absolute pressure. So with all those labels on the harness, it makes it very easy to take it apart, put it back together, which is important on something that you're going to do a lot of work on. Most of our hot rods, we're going to put it together and probably never take it back apart, or if we do, it'd be a long time down the road. And of course, itchy nose. Again, like we talked on the first night, is I like to make a spreadsheet of the connectors and where they're going and stuff like that. So that also helps as far as labeling, because now you can go back and you've got a road map of what you did. So here's some stuff about connectors, and most of your connectors are going to be the double-sided ones. So they got two blades up. I don't see they don't have it here, but if we go back, let me split the screen here for a second, or change the screen. I got rid of the other one. Let me just give me a second here. I want to show you on this wiring. All right. So most of your connectors, except for the regular butt connector and eyelets and stuff like that, which have a round connection, a crimp section on it, all your other connectors are going to be like these, where they're going to have two blades here that are narrow and then two blades that are wide. And what that's for is this narrow section is where you crimp over the bare wire exposed on your wire, and then the second crimp goes over the insulation on the wire to give it an extra hold for tug or for pulling, so it keeps the connector better connected. So bear that in mind when you look at these connectors. That's what they're talking about on this slide here. These connectors here are that style. So you use a tool that is kind of, one anvil is going to look like this. It's going to be double round, and the other side will be half round. And what that does is it takes those fingers, takes the fingers and bends them in like that, and it forms a tight crimp on your bare wire. And then the last ones crimp and do the same thing to the insulation. And you can see that in this picture up here. Let me stretch this out. So that's what they're showing here. Here is you're on the protruded wire, and it's crimped down tight, and then this goes over top of your insulation, and that's what gives the connector a lot of bite for pulling on it. It reduces the strand breakage. Exactly right. So here's what, on the wire part of it, you don't want anything in there, any of the insulation in there, and you want it tight, and you want all the wire strands to be fully engaged into that crimp. And the insulation, you can go into the insulation, and it can be multiple different ways, but that's what that's so give you that tug resistance. And it is here they're just showing you different different checking to make sure you've got it insulated properly. Now, on this side of the screen here we're talking about when you crimp them. If you're using the wrong crimper, you're going to end up doing things like when you make this crimp here, it bends this portion of the terminal up. You've over crimped it, and that's a problem. So that's not good, and it can happen either in a bend up or bend down. You can deform they call it a contact lance. That's what actually locks it into the housing, and you can get twists and rolls. Here we got zoom in on that one. Here you got uncrimped conductor, so you get a wire hanging out of the crimp. It didn't get put in the crimp properly. Those are all things that you want to stay away from. This is why I do not like the insulated connectors you buy from the parts store. You can see you have an anvil that's putting a crush on it, but you can't see where you're at. And on these round terminals, there's usually a splice. Now, the really good ones, you can buy them where there's no splice in them, where they've either been soldered or hot rolled together to where there's no seam. But if I open this up, you can see this crimp there's the seam. That crimp kind of grabbed it halfway, but it missed. The other side, it split it. Here's another one. See how the wire didn't even have enough wire in the crimp at all. These are very poor connections. And there's another one where it's just beat up. Again, not enough wire in the connector, strands hanging out. But that's the problem with when you get these insulated deals, because you can't see when you're making the connection where you're crimping. So that's why I don't. Now, I will still use these crimps in an emergency, but what I usually do is take a razor blade and cut the insulated piece off so that I can see where the seam is, so I can make a proper connection. Now here's another one. Again, see that one, the crimp isn't right. You got gaps. This one also, there's gaps in the crimp. So the wire wasn't the right size. It was the wrong size connector for that strand of wire. So these are things you want to avoid, because this is stuff that you put all your work, you do all your due diligence, and you get the whole harness done, and then you have issues, and you're like pulling your hair out. And it all can come down to just poor application. So typically, if you're in a bind and you're trying to put, so these connectors are yellow color coded, so they're supposed to be for 12 or 10 gauge wiring. What you can do is if you have to put a 14 into something like this, strip the wire double long, twist it, bend it over so that you're making the wire double thick, and that will fill the void in the connector, and then it'll give you a good crimp. So here's a crimp on a battery cable, and I wanted to show you because I cut it apart. And this is what you can do if you want to test a connection and see if your crimp is good, is you cut it apart, and it should look like this inside. So you can kind of make out the strands there, but because of this crimp, now on these big battery cables I usually use where you have a V and an anvil. So you got a pointer on one side and a V on the other side, and then you hydraulically or use a hammer and slam it. And what you do is when you get a good proper crimp, you're actually force welding all those strands together. And that's because you're putting so much load on it that it actually starts to make the terminals, the strands all blend together. It makes a very robust connection. A connection like that will never fail. And it also keeps corrosion out because there's nowhere for corrosion to work its way into that connection. There's one side was the eyelet, and this is the cable side. And you can see same thing here, where the strands are almost like they're solid, and all it is that there's enough compression on there that they become fused together. Here's a barrel style crimp, and you can see the same thing. It's almost cannot even detect the strands. Now, if you look at this, this is a wide connector. So this was a number 10 connector with a 14 gauge wire. But because I put it in, bent it over, and then it filled the opening of the fitting, the connector, and then when it was properly crimped, it still made a proper connect. So here's a bunch of different non-insulated connectors, and you can see here the seams. So whenever you see seams like that, your top anvil, which is going to either be a large V or maybe a half round, that's going to go over the seam, and then your pointed anvil is going to come in from the opposite side. That is how you're going to form a good tight crimp, and you're not going to have to worry about this seam deforming and coming apart. Now, these two butt connectors here are the seamless style, but you see what they do is they put a detent in the center of the connection, and that detent is telling you this is the side that your anvil is going to strike to make a proper connection, because these are still, they're either soldered together or formed together. There still was a seam at one point, so you don't want to put your anvil coming in from the opposite side, because you could split this connection and then you're not going to get that good tight crimp. And here's one with the other style like we just talked about. We got the wire in there with a good tight crimp, and then we got the outer crimp going through the insulation to aid in strand breakage from tugging and vibration and stuff like that. And here's just kind of showing you how they go together. These I did not make. These are pictures I got off the internet. This connector is proper. See how it pretty much fills that whole void? That's going to make a proper connection. Here, this one is already done, and it filled it, and that's a proper connection. This one, you can see the strands are not fully filling the terminal. So this is not going to make a good connection because there's going to be big voids in that crimp. So this is one you'd want to double this length, bend it over in half, and then put it back in so it fills this cavity, and then you can go ahead and crimp that that fitting. So let's see where we're at here. So that's all those connections. So let's see here. All right, let's go over some of the tools of the trade. Now, obviously, because I do a lot of wiring and I do ECU wiring, I do engine ignition wiring, I do car electronics. I have to have a large assortment of tools. But if you're going to do your own car, say you're going to, I know Rick at some point this summer probably, he's going to put a wiring harness in his 55 Chevy. Those cars did not have much of a fuse box in them. They had cloth woven insulation on the wiring, and those cars were originally 6-volt, so it's very heavy wiring because you have to double your gauge size on 6-volt because it's high amperage, low voltage. So he's probably going to do like a painless or something of that sort. So a typical pair of crimpers for the Series 56 wiring, and then one set of crimpers for eyelets and stuff like that would be all you need. So basically 3 tools: a crimper, a stripper, and then a tool for that. So let's go over those now. So this is a stripper, and this is what I like to use the best. This style where it grabs the insulation and you have multiple sizes on the jaws to grab your wires. There's a lot of crimpers out there, or strippers rather, that are just like a pair of pliers. They just close down and you pull the wire through. The problem with those are if you pull from an angle, you can cut some of the strands in your harness. So you immediately run, instead of having 20 strands, you may only have 10 strands. Well, now you've compromised the wiring or the amperage load that you can use. So on this side, I don't think I have a picture of the other side, but it will actually tell you the gauge wire sizes, and it pulls straight off of the wire. So you can still mess up wires in these, but way less amount of problem. And the nice thing is it just pops them right off. You can easily get the depth of strip that you want by how much sticks out of the plier. They work very good. I have 2 pairs of these. I have this exact pair here that goes up to 8 gauge and down to 16, and I've got a miniature set that goes all the way down to 24 gauge. Yeah, Rick says American Auto Wire Kit. Yep, that's I've used those in the past myself. Rinson says Weldmeyer makes a gauge adjustable pair that is good. That does work good on the larger wires, but I found on the auto adjustable ones, when you get into the 20, 22, and 24 gauge, and especially when you get into real fine strands, those can do some damage, but they do work great. But one like this is what I prefer anyway. So this is the style crimper you want to use for all your non-insulated crimps. So you can see here, this one's set up for 2 sizes, 22 to 14 and 12 and 10. And here's your pivot of your plier, and these crimps are all the way as close as they can to the pivot, and it's got a long pair of handles. So these are the right style crimper for doing your non-insulated connectors. You can do insulated, but the problem is you can't see where the seam is. So on this half round side, this is where you're going to want your seam, and there's the anvil for doing the crimping. And that's going to, you can see how the shape is. That's how the crimp is going to be finished when it's done. And like I showed before, use the right size strands and the right size connector with the right amount of force. You're going to get a good crimp that's going to be foolproof. And this is the pair I use for that type of a tool. Now, when you get into your weather pack, Metro pack, and your Series 56 and 59 connectors, where you have the open ferrule and it crimps down, this is the type of plier you want to use. And you can see the shape. It's just like when the terminal is finished. You've got your half round for the base, and then the spiked anvil part for the two top pieces. So they come in, and as you tighten it down, the ferrule turns through the corner and goes in and pinches the wire, just like your spark plug wire crimper would do. So you do need to check to make sure you get the right crimping style, because there's all different crimps for those. What I would do is try to order one for the right. You're doing Series 56. Try to order a Series 56 crimper. But these are universal. And one thing to notice about this style crimper tool is it's got this crisscross here. So these open and close straight down. They don't close like a scissor, because you have to crimp that terminal squarely. So that's why these are special crimpers, and why you can't use the cheapy part store stuff to make proper crimps. And this is just another one of the ones I have. Not a good picture of it. And then this is going into computer stuff now. This is our connector crimp for ECU connections for the Holly dashes, sniper, all that stuff. And then here's a MetroPack 480, MetroPack 280, and then these are for your weather pack and your smaller MetroPack connectors, where they actually hold the connector in a jaw, so it makes perfect connections. And these will actually crimp the strands and the seal all at the same time, one shot. And these are all ratcheting style crimpers, where they are already adjusted for load. So you just pull them tight, and it already sets the proper crimp pressure for your connection. There's another pair that I use. Again, you can see the anvil and a cutter. That's all it does. This is a handy tool. This is a Thexton tool. And what this is for stereo guys and alarm guys that know what they're doing. And mechanics will use this tool. This you can push through a rubber grommet and make a new hole. And it works really good. It's got a very sharp edge on there, and it's hollow. So you feed your wire through it and then pull it back out of the boot. And because it's going through rubber, the rubber will expand around the tool, send your wire through. When you pull the tool back out, it lets the rubber contract and make a tight fitting. So pretty handy tool there. If you're gonna send wiring that's already in a rubber grommet. There's just the bottom edge of it kind of sharpening up like a razor blade. Here's a picture of the Kleins, and you can see the different sizes: 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, and 18. So they tell you what size you can send in there, and pretty much foolproof. Always get a perfect strip without breaking any of the strands, no matter how fine the strands are. Whether aluminum, copper coated, copper, or stainless, you're always going to get a good a good strip. And there's my smaller one, 16, 18, 20, 24, 22. Scissors are always handy to have. Cutting heat shrink, cutting wire loom. Always a good tool to have while you're doing wiring. And here's two more different style crimpers. Unfortunately, I don't think we can stretch them out here. So this one's hard to tell, but this side's got the anvil style for to bend the ferrules around, and then it's got two round sizes for seals on the other side. And then This one just does the standard crimping on all different sizes. This is a Matco tool for doing the heavier duty style, insulated and non-insulated. This is for non-insulated. And again, this is a ratcheting style, so the preload of the crimp pressure is already set. You just keep pulling it till it goes to the last ratchet click and then releases. If you don't go tight enough, it won't release. This is a really good kit if you're going to try to do a bunch of different kind of wiring. You can get this tool aid kit on Amazon. I think it's $100, and you have 2 different style crimpers here. This is for Metro Pack and Weather Pack. This one is for your non-insulated Series 59 and 56 terminals. You got 3 different sizes for Deutsch, and you got all your release tools for all that stuff. So this will pretty much do all your Weather Pack or EC computer type connections. And there's the part number 18700. So it's a real good tool kit. It's only $100. So if you're going to do some fuel injection stuff, even if you're just going to repair some connectors on your street car, this is a good kit because it's basically going to have a pair of crimpers that are going to work for just about everything. This is another pair of Matco tools. This is actually a crimp for your insulated connectors. And if I bring this, I don't know how good this picture is, but you can see on this, because of the insulation, they don't have an anvil in here. And that's why I don't like using this style connector, because if you use an anvil connector on the plastic insulation, it splits the insulation, so you've made the insulation void. It's no good. But with this, it'll crimp it down and not cut the insulation. But the problem is you can't see where your part line is, so you can create a bad crimp. I have this tool when I was working in shops where they'd had the insulated tools. I used it back in the day. I don't ever use this tool anymore, just because it's just not a good proper crimp. This is the a snap-on pair of wire terminal tools that they sell, but this is a style crimper that you can get, a stripper, you can get yourself in big trouble with, because when you pull the harness, if you pull this slightly in any direction besides square with the wiring, it will cut the it'll cut the strands. So this is not a good tool to use. I keep this in my emergency box for on the road, just because it's better than what they sell at the parts store. But I hate using this tool, and when you do use it, you have to be very careful and very cognizant of the strip after you make it to make sure it was a good one. Sometimes you may have to do it 3-4 times before you can get a good, clean, solid strip. Flush cuts, these are way important. Anybody that's worked around cable ties and came up bloody, this is your friend. Flush cuts, you can go down and cut your cable tie flush with the locking device, and creates a non-injuring connection. And it's really good for cutting wires out of connectors and stuff like that, because it'll go up flush against whatever you're cutting. This is a pair from Home Depot. I think they're $6. But you should always keep, I keep flush cuts in all of my toolboxes and in the car, in the road box, because indispensable for getting smooth cuts on cable ties and stuff like that. And there's an up close picture. You can see it's actually ground flat on one side of the crimp, so it always is going to be flush. Where if you look at a pair of dikes, the edge, the cutting edge is cut on a V, and the V then always leaves a little tail on your cable tie, which it's like having razor blades in your engine bay. So try not to do that. This is some tools for using the F6 wire loom. You push. This white piece twist. There's a seam on the bottom. You can almost see it here. So you put your wiring harness in there, loose wires, twist it 180 so it seals it so the wires can't fall out, and you push your wire loom covering over top of that, and that gets all your harness into the sleeves very easy. Dave says Christmas lights. Yep, flushies work good for everything, man. Okay, so I guess that's back to the beginning, I think. Yeah, that's the beginning of that, and we'll just go over this real quick, and then I think we'll end the series tonight here. That's already that one. So one other thing you may end up needing when you're doing wiring, because you may push a wire into the wrong connector, or you want to reuse a connector on the car and just put new terminals in it. Or as I said, I buy relay kits, and sometimes the relay kits will come with pigtails. And rather than putting a butt connector and splicing, I'll remove that pigtail out and run my wire directly into the connector. It just makes it look very professional. You need to have tools for taking the connectors apart, and that's what these are. This is a kit from Lyle, and it will do a big portion of your everyday automotive connectors that you find in the car. It's not going to do some of your fancier Metro Packs and Deutsch, but it'll do all your Series 56, Series 59. So a lot of the ones that are on your Ford and Chrysler products, where they have the terminals have little spring locks that you got to collapse the spring lock to get the wire back out of the connector. So a kit like this is very cheap. You can get it anywhere, and it's good to have laying around. There's the wire number 57750. I think you can get these for like $25 or something. It's pretty cheap. Here's some other ones I use. These are both snap-on, and then that's a Metro Pack harness tool there. And these all have different thicknesses and stuff, all set up for doing different removals. I think that is all I had on these slides. Yeah. So now we've gone over our original plans in part one, how we want to set this up to build our harness. We went over how to lay out the thought process of where all the wiring is going to go, so you can build a harness, and you can join other components together, because a lot of almost everything you put in a car is going to have a power and a ground. So making your roadmap, whether you handwrite it or use a Excel spreadsheet or however you do it, or just if you like Rick's going to get an American Auto Wire kit, use your handbook and just put notes on every page, and that way 2-3 years down the road, if you have to add a component, or if you have a component fail, or hopefully not, but you have a connector fail, you can go through your book, and it'll give you instructions on where, what you did. It'll refresh your memory of what you connected where and stuff like that. So it just makes it makes it a lot simpler than just throwing a bunch of wiring under the dash. And we've all been there. You look underneath the dash of a used car, and it's had stereos installed and alarms and all this. And there's butt connectors everywhere, and there's black tape everywhere, and you're like, I don't even know where to start. Well, that's because you don't have a roadmap. So in that situation, I usually take everything out, just strip it all out, and start over fresh. In part two, we went over components that you would use in your harnesses: relays, fuses, circuit breakers, resistors and diodes. So, all those things all have a good use and a need for it. And then again tonight we went over the proper crimping and the tools that you would use for that. So next week we're going to go over some of the EFI and higher end stuff that you may get into if you're dealing with a race car, or you want to put EFI on your car and you want to integrate all Sniper or a Terminator or HP Dominator, and you want to do data logging and that stuff. So we'll kind of go over all that stuff, and then I think the final one, we're going to go ahead and put it all together on what we really are trying to achieve. So hopefully it worked out good for you guys tonight. Appreciate everybody coming out. Looks like we had a pretty good crowd. We'll just keep working through these systems, and hopefully it helps you guys work on your cars, give you a better understanding of what you're doing, or maybe allow you to do something to your car that you would normally have to go pay somebody else to do. So if there's any questions, put them in the comments. Save them for next week for the chat. Remember, there's no problem in asking a question during the middle of the chat. I'm not here to do a lecture. I'm here to help you guys understand what's going on. So again, if you have any questions or anything like that, throw it on there and we will go over it. So I think we'll go ahead and pull the plug on tonight. Remember, smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't, ring the bell. You'll get instant notifications when I upload stuff. Just like last week when we didn't get the live show on, but I did put on 2 shorts and 1 video. So if you had rung the bell and you were subscribed, you would have got notification on that. So with all that, I'll see you guys all next week. Have a great week. See ya.